Hello, folks. Welcome back to the American Family Survival Network. I'm your host, Jeffrey Snipes. This is part 3 of Hydration for the Apocalypse, How to Store Water for Long-Term Emergencies, brought to us by myfamilysurvivalplan.com and written by Brett and Kate McCrae. So the next thing we're going to discuss is a water cistern system. Water cisterns are a big step up from rain barrels. They're basically giant holding containers that you use to capture rainwater. Water cistern systems can hold anywhere from 1,400 gallons to 12,000 gallons of water. If you're planning for end of the world as we know it events, water cisterns are where it's at. You'll need space where you can place a giant water tank, and you'll need to develop a system of pipes to deliver rainwater to the cistern. Also, the tanks used in cistern systems usually aren't food friendly. You'll want to treat the water before drinking it or use cistern water primarily for hygiene purposes. Backup water solutions. In addition to having stored water, you'll want to have options to filter and purify water in case you need to use water from rivers, streams, or lakes to supplement your supply. Creek Stewart recommends having 3 options on hand to produce clean drinking water: filter, chemical, and boiling. Water filter. The Canadian Hiker Pro filtration system is a good thing to have in your bug out bag. There are lots of these hiker style water purification bottles on the market now. You can produce about 1 liter of clean water per minute with it. You definitely can't rely on it for your primary source of clean water. It's a useful supplementary source. The Berkey water filter. These are top of the line activated carbon block water filters. They will remove particles of VOCs, chlorine, and all sorts of chemicals and toxins from your water. You will still want a way of removing bacteria, though, such as either purification tablets or boiling. Purification tablets, it's good to have some iodine and some sodium chloride tablets for purification as well. Fuel and a stove to boil water. Most importantly, have a small pocket rocket stove and fuel in your bug out bag so that you can boil water to purify it. Common questions about water storage. Do I need to rotate my water every year? This is probably the most common question, and the most common answer is yes. You need to change your water out at least once a year, but after looking into it, I found that this isn't necessarily true. First, it's important to understand that water doesn't have an expiration date. If properly stored, water doesn't spoil. What makes water bad is contamination that gets into it. If you take proper precautions in sealing and storing your water so that bacteria or other contaminants don't get into it, your water could theoretically stay good forever. In fact, I've read lots of blog posts from folks who've imbibed 5-year-old stored water without any problems. So as long as you take proper precautions, no, you don't need to change your water out every year. However, one of the challenges is that water can be contaminated without one being able to tell until one gets ill. So if you're worried about contamination, then go ahead and do it. Do I need to treat my water with chlorine before I store it? A few prepper sites recommend that you treat your water with chlorine before you seal its storage container, but if you're using tap water from your city to fill your water storage, it's unnecessary. Tap water has already been treated with chlorine. If you properly seal your bottle or drum, you shouldn't have to worry about bacteria or algae growth. If the day comes that you have to crack open your water source and you're worried about contamination, feel free to add chlorine. The proper amount is 1/8 teaspoon of chlorine per gallon of water. To make it easier, just buy some water treatment drops. They tell you exactly what you need to add. Do I need to boil my water? Do I need to boil my stored water before I can drink it? If you have reason to believe that your water has been contaminated, then boil it. If not, don't. It's a waste of fuel. Why does my stored water taste funny? Is it contaminated? Stored water will often taste flat and weird because there's no oxygen in it. To get rid of that weird stored water taste, simply swish your water around your cup a few times before drinking. Do I need to store my water off the cement? If you plan on storing water in 55-gallon barrels, you'll likely come across recommendations to not store the barrels on your garage's cement floor and to instead place them on wooden pallets. The reason given is that chemicals in the cement can cause a chemical reaction with the plastic storage container and possibly contaminate the water. Looking into this a bit more, this seems to be more of an old prepper wives' tale, I couldn't find any scientific research to back up this claim. A few prepper sites claim that you're storing your water on cement only becomes a problem when your cement got really hot. To be on the safe side, I went ahead and put my water barrels on a pallet. Didn't cost me much more and didn't take up much more space. You can also use carpet or flattened cardboard boxes too. I have a swimming pool. Can't I just use that for my emergency water? If you have an average sized swimming pool out back, you have around 20,000 gallons of water at your disposal in case of an emergency. It's certainly drinkable. You just have to be smart about it. Because of the chlorine and pump filter, pool water is typically free of contaminants like algae and bacteria. Don't be freaked out about drinking chlorinated pool water. The recommended chlorine levels for pools is 2 parts per million. With water with chlorine levels below 4 parts per million are safe for humans to drink. The problem with relying on pool water for a long-term water solution is that in a grid-down situation in which water and electricity are out for more than a week, that pool water is going to go bad. First, chlorine levels will drop in a few days unless you keep adding chlorine to the pool. If you don't have enough chlorine on hand, that means the water will become an algae and bacteria breeding ground in a short while. Second, without electricity, your pool's pump and filter can't clean out the gunk. So after a week, your pristine drinkable pool water will start to spoil. With that in mind, you might consider having several collapsible water container carriers on hand and filling them up with pool water if you think the power